Are you Georgis Andreas Gayonotakis of 17 Camden Lane, London, NW1?
I am.
What is your occupation, Mr. Gayonotakis?
Travel agent.
And ex-terrorist.
Sir Richard, if you make another remark of that nature, I shall have you removed from the court. Proceed, Mr. Harvester.
Do you know the defendant?
Yes, Jimmy and I have been friends for a long time.
Since when?
Since he saved my life in Cyprus during the troubles. 1954 that was.
He was serving in the army?
That's right, but not me.
Do you mind if I lead on time and place?
Not at all.
Did you have occasion to meet the defendant at Fulchester sometime in February of 1973?
I did.
Will you tell the court what happened at that meeting?
Yes, I was here for business for a few hours, just passing through, so Jimmy, Major Fawkes, there is, and I met for a couple of pints and chat about the old days. I asked him how was his little girl, and he told me.
What did he tell you?
That she needs a lot of treatment. So we talked about her for a long time, and then I found out he has no money, only worse than before. When we were saying goodbye, I told him I was going to lend him £1,200.
Why?
During our conversation, he told me about a place in Sweden that is best for his child. It cost £1,800 to get her there, but he had already saved £600.
Did he ask you for the money?
Jimmy? No.
When was it to be repaid?
What do you think?
Well, I'm asking you.
We arranged 5 years, but I knew he could never do it.
One thing more. Why did you offer to help him to such a great extent?
Because my people, Greek people, help each other. You know the saying, an Englishman's home is his castle?
I do.
Well, for me, this means nobody goes in, nobody comes out.
I hope we're not all as bad as that.
Please stay there, Mr. Gayonotakis. I shan't keep you long. Now, tell me, how is it you could afford to be so generous towards the defendant? Are you a rich man?
No, I'm not, but unlike Major Fawkes, I have never let other people use me.
Are you acquainted with Sir Richard Cresswell?
Unfortunately, I made what you call his acquaintance once with Jimmy.
What were Jimmy's feelings towards him?
Sorry, I don't get you.
Did he dislike him?
Oh, not at all. He understood perfectly the kind of a person he was.
What do you mean?
One of your imperial leftovers.
Mr. Gayonotakis, kindly refrain from making frivolous remarks.
I'm sorry, sir.
You address me as my lord.
My lord?
Miss Lewis?
I put it to you as a fact that your friend Jimmy felt a strong personal resentment towards his chairman because he felt he had been exploited by him.
I don't think so. He was just realizing what makes the world go round.
Are you seriously telling us he harbored no antipathy for Sir Richard?
Antipathy?
Do you not know what that means?
Yes, it's a Greek word.
I'm so glad we understand one another. What does make the world go round, Mr. Gayonotakis?
You're a lawyer and you ask me?
Yes.
Money, influence, you know that.
When do you think Jimmy began to realize that?
In Cyprus, when he was on security work?
Through meeting you?
No. When he saw what was going on there in your little colony?
And when his left-wing views started?
Oh, left wing, right wing, they're just words. Jimmy is not a political man. Religious, maybe.
Oh, yes, we've heard a great deal about his religion. Your friend believes, does he not, that those who live by the sword deserve to die by it?
Do you mean some people should get what's coming to them?
Precisely.
Possibly.
You see, I'm going to suggest to you that this means Major Fawkes is not the innocent pawn he would have us believe.
Well, you may suggest it to me, but I disagree.
And I further suggest that Major Fawkes decided that Sir Richard Cresswell deserved to be punished and that he has taken it upon himself to be the instrument of that punishment.
My lord, how can the witness possibly answer that?
It won't be necessary. Let us return to your testimony. I'm sure everybody sincerely wishes that the health of the defendant's daughter will improve. May we assume that arrangements have been made to take her to Sweden?
No, you may not assume. Everything has been delayed by this witch hunt.
I see. Do you know the name of the defendant's daughter?
Eloise?
And do you know the name of the clinic in Sweden?
No.
Do you know where it is?
In Sweden?
Do you know its whereabouts in Sweden?
No, I have never asked.
You've never asked?
No, these things are not important.
If you say so. Do you know of anyone whom Major Fawkes told about the loan?
My lord, the fact that the witness may not know of anyone does not mean that there was no one.
Nevertheless, I think he can be allowed to answer the question.
Your lordship pleases.
Did you know anyone?
No, I don't.
And did you yourself tell anybody?
No, not even my wife. This was a private matter.
A very well-kept secret, I'd say.
Yes, between friends.
Precisely. And after all, Major Fawkes did save your life once, didn't he?
Yes,
And this must mean a great deal to you.
yes. It means that sometimes you find true justice in a man's heart, not in the court of law. That's what I would do anything for Jimmy.
Including perjure yourself.
Listen, if I wanted to do that, I wouldn't have stopped with one lie. I would have supported his whole story all the way.
Indeed.
Indeed I would. Do you think after what I'd been through in Cyprus in 1954, I would now be scared of an English court?
No, Mr. Gainotakis, I think you have no respect at all for an English court.
I've no re-examination, my lord.
You may stand down.
That concludes the case for the defence, my lord.
Now, members of the jury, my task is to direct you on questions of law arising from this case. If I make any comments that appear to be expressing my views of a witness's testimony, you are perfectly free to disregard them, because you and you alone are the sole judges of fact. Now, the financial facts in this case are not in dispute. As to the cheque that was made out by Lady Cresswell for £5,000 more than the trustees instructed, whose idea was it? Did the defendant deliberately deceive her as to the amount, or was it, as she now claims, made at her suggestion? Now, you will give Lady Cresswell's testimony the weight that you think it deserves, but since it conflicts with her original statement to the police, I must warn you to approach what she says with extreme caution. And I must also tell you that her original statement cannot be used as evidence against the defendant. Now, you may believe, as has been suggested, that the defendant did not steal in the ordinary sense of the word, that he merely hoped to make a quick profit from selling Metalia shares if and when they rose, then sell them and subsequently reinvest the original money in ICI as instructed. I must warn you that even if he did this in law, he would be guilty of the charges. But it is, of course, for the prosecution to show that guilt. Now, in order to convict the defendant, you must be sure that he did what he did, knowing it to be unauthorized, knowing it to be dishonest. And you must bear in mind that he stands charged on two separate counts. First, the theft of £13,500 of the original sum. Second, the obtaining by deception of £5,000 from Lady Cresswell. Now, you may find on one or other or both of these charges. Now, members of the jury, will you kindly retire to consider your verdict?
All stand.
The prisoner will remain standing. Members of the jury, will your foreman please stand? Just answer this question, yes or no. Have you reached verdicts upon which you are all agreed?
Yes.
On the charge of theft of £13,500, how do you find the prisoner, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Is that the verdict of you all?
It is.
On the charge of obtaining £5,000 by deception, how do you find the prisoner, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Is that the verdict of you all?
It is.
In sentencing Major Fawkes to 3 years' imprisonment, Mr. Justice Campbell took account of the extenuating circumstances of his case. Next week, a chance for you to join the jury in assessing the facts when our cameras return to watch another case in the Crown Court.